Hola mis queridos meridianos, espero de corazón que estés muy bien y te agradezco de que me regales un ratito de tu valioso tiempo. Hoy haremos el unboxing del iPhone 5. No, no realmente. Es más, ¿quién tiene un iPhone 5 aún? Hoy quiero que hablemos sobre cómo Apple llegó a ser la compañía que es hoy. Y para ello tendríamos que hablar de una persona y creo que ustedes saben de quién hablo. Exacto, del finado Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs fue un tipo muy inteligente, con un nivel de comprensión de lo que lo rodeaba muy agudo y siempre buscaba la innovación en todo. Quiero que veamos un extracto de cómo a sus muy tempranos 21 años llegó a liderar una compañía.
How old were you?
21.
21.
Yeah.
You're 21. You're a big success. You know, you just sort of done it by the seat of your pants. You don't have any particular training in this. How do you learn to run a company?
You know, throughout the years in business, I found something, which was I'd always ask why you do things. And the answers you invariably get are, oh, that's just the way it's done. Nobody knows why they do what they do. Nobody thinks about things very deeply in business. That's what I found. I'll give you an example. When we were building our Apple I's in the garage, we knew exactly what they cost. When we got into a factory in the Apple II days, the accounting had this notion of a standard cost, where you'd kind of set a standard cost and then at the end of a quarter you'd adjust it with a variance. And I kept asking, well, why do we do this? And the answer was, well, that's just the way it's done. And after about 6 months of digging into this, what I realized was the reason you do it is because you don't really have good enough controls to know how much it costs, so you guess, and then you fix your guess at the end of the quarter. And the reason you don't know how much it costs is because your information systems aren't good enough. So, but nobody said it that way. And so later on, when we designed this automated factory for Macintosh, we were able to get rid of a lot of these antiquated concepts and know exactly what something cost to the second.
Steve no pensaba de manera convencional. No porque alguien o un grupo de personas hicieran algo similar una y otra vez, no significaba que eso era un método definitivo para él. Pensar fuera de la caja es lo que lo llevó a ese nivel donde no hay límites. Pensar fuera de la caja es entrar en ese espacio cuántico de posibilidades infinitas. Ahora quiero que pongamos atención a esta parte de la entrevista que de verdad me dejó súper sorprendido y me encantó la respuesta de Steve sobre su perspectiva sobre el dinero.
What's it like to get rich?
It's very interesting. I was worth about over $1 million when I was 23, and over $10 million when I was 24, and over $100 million when I was 25. And it wasn't that important because I never did it for the money. I think money is a wonderful thing because it enables you to do things. It enables you to invest in ideas that don't have a short-term payback and things like that. But especially at that point in my life, it was not the most important thing. The most important thing was the company, the people, the products we were making, what we were going to enable people to do with these products. So I didn't think about it a great deal. You know, I never sold any stock and just really believed that the company would do very well over the long term.
No pienses cómo hacer $1 millón, más bien piensa cómo ayudar a 1 millón de personas. He dicho esta frase docenas de veces en este canal y verla caracterizada por uno de los tipos más inteligentes de nuestra era me da aún más certeza de que para alcanzar esa libertad financiera que tanto anhelas, no necesitas dinero. Verás, La gente pobre piensa, necesito dinero para hacer dinero. Pero por otro lado, la gente rica piensa, necesito una idea para hacer dinero. Al tener una idea y desarrollarla para el bienestar de los demás, estás haciendo aquello que es entrar en ese espacio cuántico de posibilidades infinitas y permitiendo a tu verdadero ser o tu yo superior a tomar las riendas del asunto desde la perspectiva de la creatividad. Eso te permitirá sentir dos emociones claves para atraer dinero: libertad y seguridad. Si en verdad estás seguro de tu idea o tu emprendimiento y por otro lado también sientes la seguridad de que lo que ofreces es útil y con un gran valor agregado, déjame decirte que estás en camino a conseguir tu meta. Puede que al principio no sea fácil, pero esas dificultades no son muros que están ahí para detenerte, más bien están ahí para que los trepes y veas el panorama desde arriba. Y hablando de problemas u obstáculos, me refiero a cosas como estas.
So you came back from visiting Xerox PARC with a vision, and how did you implement the vision?
Well, I got our best people together and started to get them working on this. The problem was that we'd hired a bunch of people from Hewlett-Packard, and they didn't get this idea. They didn't get it. I remember having dramatic arguments with some of these people who thought the coolest thing in user interface was soft keys at the bottom of a screen, you know. They had no concept of proportionally spaced fonts, no concept of a mouse. Matter of fact, I remember arguing with these folks, people screaming at me that it would take us 5 years to engineer a mouse and it would cost $300 to build. And I finally got fed up. I just went outside and found David Kelly Design and asked them to design me a mouse, and in 90 days we had a mouse we could build for $15 that was phenomenally reliable.
El jefe de una compañía de $1 billón en aquel entonces, que simplemente no se conformaba en lo que su equipo le dijera y buscaba soluciones incluso fuera de la misma empresa. Esto nos pasa a muchos en ese proceso de las manifestaciones. Muchas veces creemos demasiado en nuestra idea, la adoptamos y la desarrollamos, pero nadie nos comprende. Aquí es donde tienes que comprender dos cosas. Uno, no te rindas. Y dos, permite que te ayuden. Rodéate de gente que tenga los mismos anhelos y sueños que tú, e incluso más grandes. En otras palabras, comprende que una mariposa no le pide consejos a una oruga. De hecho, Steve lo explica muy bien en este punto.
When I was a young kid, there was a widowed man that lived up the street. And he was in his 80s. He's a little scary looking. And I got to know him a little bit. I think he might have paid me to mow his lawn or something. And one day he said, come on into my garage, I want to show you something. And he pulled out this dusty old rock tumbler. And it was a motor and a coffee can and a little, band between them. And he said, come on with me. We went out to the back and we got just some rocks, some regular old ugly rocks. And we put them in the can with a little bit of liquid and a little bit of grit powder. And we closed the can up, and he turned this motor on. He said, come back tomorrow. And his can was making a racket as the stones went around. And I came back the next day, and we opened the can, and we took out these amazingly beautiful polished rocks. The same common stones that had gone in through rubbing against each other like this, creating a little bit of friction, creating a little bit of noise, had come out these beautiful polished rocks. And that's always been in my mind my metaphor for a team working really hard on something they're passionate about is that it's through the team, through that group of incredibly talented people bumping up against each other, having arguments, having fights sometimes, making some noise, and working together, they polish each other. And they polish the ideas, and what comes out are these really beautiful stones. Yeah.
Ahora bien, Para alcanzar tus metas en esta vida necesitas no solo de tu ingenio y de tu equipo que te apoye, llámese a ese equipo amigos, familia, socios o clientes en general. También necesitas algo que te impulse a ir más allá. Y es cierto, muchas veces nos cansamos, nos sentimos agobiados y queremos mandarlo todo al carajo. Pero mira lo que el entrevistador le pregunta a Steve por referente pues a este aspecto.
I was keen to know about Steve's passion. What drove him?
I read an article when I was very young in Scientific American, and it measured the efficiency of locomotion for various species on the planet. So for, you know, bears and chimpanzees and raccoons and birds and fish, how many kilocalories per kilometer did they spend to move? And humans were measured too. And the condor won. It was the most efficient. And mankind, the crown of creation, came in with a rather unimpressive showing about a third of the way down the list. But somebody there had the brilliance to test a human riding a bicycle. Blew away the condor, all the way off the charts. And I remember this really had an impact on me. I really remember this, that humans are tool builders. And we build tools that can dramatically amplify our innate human abilities. And to me, we actually ran an ad like this very early at Apple, that the personal computer was the bicycle of the mind. And I believe that with every bone in my body, that of all the inventions of humans, the computer is going to rank near, if not at the top, as history unfolds and we look back. And it is the most awesome tool that we have ever invented. And I feel incredibly lucky to be at exactly the right place in Silicon Valley, at exactly the right time historically where this invention has taken form. And as you know, when you set a vector off in space, if you can change its direction a little bit at the beginning, it's dramatic when it gets a few miles out in space. I feel we are still really at the beginning of that vector. And if we can nudge it in the right directions, it will be a much better thing as it progresses on. And I look, you know, I think we've had a chance to do that a few times. And it brings, I think, all of us associated with it tremendous satisfaction.
Entiende que tu labor es necesaria. Somos co-creadores junto con el universo mismo. Nuestra mente crea ideas impresionantes que nos ponen en una, no quiero usar esta palabra, pero es la mejor que se me ocurre, en una supremacía frente a toda la creación conocida en este plano dimensional. Tu capacidad de inventar, de recrear, de reaprender, es la que te lleva a pensar fuera de los límites de la estructura cuadrada de esta tercera dimensión y traer a este plano las maravillas del campo cuántico. Así es como te posicionas por encima de todo. Puedes lograr todo lo que te propongas en tu mente.
One of the questions I asked everyone in the series was, are you a hippie or a nerd?
Oh, if I had to pick one of those two, I'm clearly a hippie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that in 30
And
seconds.
all the people I work with were clearly in that category too.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, why? I mean, is it you seek out hippies, or they are attracted to you?
Well, ask yourself, what is a hippie? I mean, this is an old word that has a lot of connotations, but to me, you know, because I grew up, I mean, remember that the 60s happened in the early 70s, right? So we have to remember that. And that's sort of when I came of age. So I saw a lot of this. And, you know, a lot of it happened right in our backyard here. So to me, the spark of that was that there was something beyond sort of what you see every day. There's something going on here in life beyond just a job and a family and 2 cars in the garage and a career. There's something more going on. There's another side of the coin that we don't talk about much, and we experience it when there's gaps, when we kind of just aren't really, when everything's not ordered and perfect, when there's kind of a gap, you experience this inrush of something. And a lot of people have set off throughout history to find out what that was. You know, whether it's Thoreau or whether it's, you know, some Indian mystics or whoever it might be. And the hippie movement got a little bit of that, and they wanted to find out what that was about. And that life wasn't about what they saw their parents doing. And of course the pendulum swung too far the other way and it was crazy, but there was a germ of something there. And it's the same thing that causes people to want to be poets instead of bankers, you know? And I think that's a wonderful thing. And I think that that same spirit can be put into products. And those products can be manufactured and given to people, and they can sense that spirit. I mean, if you talk to people that use the Macintosh, they love it. I mean, you don't hear people loving products very often, you know, really. But you could feel it in there. There was something really wonderful there. So I don't think that most of the really best people that I've worked with have worked with computers for the sake of working with computers. They've worked with computers because they are the medium that is best capable of transmitting some feeling that you have that you want to share with other people. Does that make any sense to you?
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, before they invented these things, all these people would have done other things. But computers were invented, and they did come along, and all these people did get interested in school or before school, and said, hey, this is the medium that I think I can say something in, you know? And we are calling it iPhone. Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone. And here it is.
Mis queridos meridianos, yo sé que aquí hay mentes brillantes, asombrosas, y es mi sueño más profundo, mi gran anhelo, ver algún día a alguno de ustedes decir: una vez vi un video que me cambió la vida. Un video de los millones de videos motivacionales que hay en YouTube, pero en ese, quien hablaba me dijo, sin conocerme, que creía en mí. Por eso hoy, a pesar de todo, agradezco mi éxito, mi vida, mi salud, mis finanzas y el haber visto ese video. Y hoy te digo, yo, Carlos, creo en ti. Ahora ve y díselo al espejo.